All right, our next game is Friday the 13th for Commodore 64, and it was nominated a little while ago by letka.net on Twitter, which is literally spelled LEKATDOTNET.
What?
Yeah, I know. You think like letcat.net, which is just like all kinds of crazy. So like, is that a website? Is it? I don't know. Anyway, one of the more interesting Twitter handles we've gotten. Thank you for nominating the game. I played this for the first time maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
I'd like to make a small confession myself.
Sure.
I have not played this game. I've seen video and articles on it, but I'm going to make a confession. Games like this, especially for older microcomputers like this, they scare me, like, more than any modern horror game. I just can't even get myself to play them.
Is there something about, like, the weird noises, or...
It's like on a primal level.
Like, better word.
Bob just gets, like just genuinely down. I've played games like this in front of him, and he's, like, screaming, so, you know. Okay,
I'm pretty sure you're making that up.
You want to go play Trivia Monster right now? Let's go, man.
Okay. Xerxes, lead us on.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, Bobinator, because I feel the same way. There's like a weird way that old games can be creepy in a way that new games can't, and I don't know what it is. Like in the same as the reverse is also true. Like there's definitely a way that new games can scare me in ways that old games can't. New games, but the newer games scare me in a way that like a horror movie can scare me, whereas old games are scary in a way that really has nothing to do with what they're going to show you. It's more like you feel like there's something, I don't know, there can be something.
The lack of realism gets you on a completely different level.
Yeah, it's like I think one of the earliest games that really, okay, I'll give you an example, like Uninvited, right, for PC and NES and stuff, like that creepy skeleton lady thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is weirdly scary. You know it's coming. You know it's there. It's not very, like, it's not a realistic drawing in terms of, like, you know, resolution or anything. But it's still weird and scary. Like, I can't explain it.
I'll say, compared to the other version, the NES version, all the other versions that I've seen are way scarier because there's no music or anything. It's just dead silence until it happens, and ugh.
I used to have nightmares about Mabu, the villain of Rolling Thunder, laughing in your face with his discordant alien skin and dead eyes, and that...
Anyway.
Jesus.
Yeah, we'll talk about Rolling Thunder when it comes to Rolling Thunder.
Good idea.
Well,
this
I mean...
It's not based on the NES version, we should make that clear.
No.
This is an entirely different game.
I believe it's based on... I think it's the 5th Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The 5th or the 4th?
No. The 4th, was the final chapter. 5th was the one where, spoilers, Jason wasn't actually the killer. And it is one of the more...
Spoiler, you can't just say that.
The film's more than 20 years old. 30 years old. I think that's...
Also, most of them not that good. I feel like spoiling a crappy movie is not that big of a deal.
The only ones...
favor, because you don't end up watching it.
The only ones that I think are really worth keeping are 4, 6, and maybe 7.
I guess I should point out that Sutenga recently watched all of the movies, I think. So he's kind of fresh.
Last summer. I can affirm that, you know, quite a few of them are formulaic, especially in the beginning. The most it can do is stick to the formula and do it well, which I think that 4 and 6 are best for, or it can totally change the formula.
Based on 4, the game Friday the 13th. Sorry, I'm just trying to reel us in here.
No, go ahead.
To get back to the Commodore 64 game.
So, like a lot of Commodore 64 games that are based on movies, it kind of does something sort of unique that you don't see in a lot of games of that time, and you definitely don't see it in a lot of games now. The interesting thing about this game is that you can choose a character. You just kind of start out picking out, like, you're choosing your teenager.
I have to stop real quick. You don't pick your character. It assigns you one of 5 characters.
Oh, that's right. You don't pick.
Yeah, each one is the next level is the next character.
So it's got a fright meter, which I'm not really sure what exactly that does, except it acts like maybe it's a life bar or something. Or
well, okay. Since I watched a guy who confirmed what I was trying to remember previously. The fright meter. Apparently, every player, every of the actor characters in the game, the fright meter allegedly dictates who Jason is going to kill next. I don't think you can see anyone else's, but the more scared you are, the more likely Jason is going to come for you. Specifically.
Oh,
that's the fright meter.
That.
You have a health meter, which is a pair of dumbbells that's your strength. And then there is the the sanity meter, which is like Jason's head slowly appears on the screen in this like little box. And I think you just lose if that fills up all the way. I can't remember.
I don't remember that either.
Is that like just basically a timer, or is there some?
I think it's a timer, or it's related to how many
people he kills.
If you take too long to find Jason, he'll start killing off your friends one by one, which is punctuated by the most horrific digitized scream I have ever heard. I actually have a sound clip of it if you want to hear it.
No.
I'm sorry, he's already probably cut it in, and everyone is just turned off the podcast.
No, I can.
Oh, that was terrible. Oh, wow. Okay, moving on.
Digitized screaming, like that. That just.
It's one of the best digitized screams.
You play as one of a couple characters, and your job is to figure out which of the other people in the area is Jason, the killer.
Right.
And because he's disguised as someone for no reason.
Right.
No, I mean,
it's from the movies.
No, Jason never did that, as far as I remember.
Dude was like 9 feet tall. I don't think he could do it. So but it makes the game more interesting. So the idea is that you're like going around and you're trying to figure out who the killer is. And the weird thing about the game is that the best way to do this is just to beat the crap out of everybody you see and see what happens.
It's like
if you hit somebody, it is the killer, then it'll turn into the killer. Like the sprite will change. So like, there's a weird incentive in the game to just hurt all your friends.
That's the whole strategy. Is you just walk up to everyone and beat him with a rake.
There's another way to do it. So you can pick up different weapons in different rooms, but I don't think it makes a huge difference. There's one item. I think you can get a crucifix in one of the houses, and that changes things because I believe it allows you to check whether a person is a killer without actually hurting them. Not that it matters. And if they're not the killer, they'll go back to the church.
Yes.
And that kind of allows you to that's pretty much, I think, the only way of beating the game that doesn't rely on luck, that allows you to save the most people. Because otherwise,
once they're in the church, they're safe. Jason doesn't go into the church and murder people.
You're right.
No, I think they can get killed on their way there, but I'm pretty sure once they reach the church room, they're safe.
It would be kind of weird for me to go to the church if it didn't have any kind of power over the killer.
Otherwise, Jason would just go in and kill all of them at the same time.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting. The problem, that's the interesting, that's the cool part about the game. That is unique, and it is definitely cool, and it's a good use of the limited abilities of the Commodore 64. The music is kind of weird because it doesn't really have anything to do with the game.
It is very scary, though.
It's got like a Bach tune, I believe.
Yeah, it plays his classic toccata and fugue. Yeah,
except it's done through the Commodore 64 speakers as interpreted by Satan's vocal voice.
Yeah. That's like a classic sort of, like gothic horror tune. What I can't understand is why the wedding march...
Sounds like, it's like... To me, that's like what the organist plays at church when everybody's leaving, that kind of thing. Like, it's...
Well, that's not the real issue here. The real issue is that the wedding march plays, and I can't figure it out.
Wedding march.
Are they trying to say that wedding is so horrifying as it is? Well, maybe. There's a statement there with some snarky, lonely programmer. I don't know.
I believe there's something like, I don't know, maybe like
I
the
believe
public
the creator
domain
of the game was able to find chord sheets for those songs. So
maybe they didn't have a musician. They just found existing...
That's actually...
Music is easy.
Yeah, that's what Parodius...
Teddy Bear's Picnic. So if you ever want to hear the Teddy Bear's Picnic while Jason tries to
that I can see, because there is something kind of sinister about that song.
I do think that the whole concept of teddy bears waking up and sneaking out to go to a picnic freaks the shit out of me.
I was walking in the woods and I just came across a bunch of teddy bears having a jolly old time. Like,
yeah, they just all look at you and just like, oh fuck. And then that's it. That's the last anyone ever heard of you.
Who knows what they're eating?
I wonder how horrifying Camptown Races would sound on the SID chip.
Yeah,
although we have been kind of dodging it because the game's not great.
But it is
point out one thing
ambitious.
It's ambitious.
Wait, hang on, Bob. What do you want to say?
This game is very violent, just something that was a little bit rarer during those times. Not completely uncommon, just a lot rarer.
You can get a chainsaw and use it to kill people.
Apparently, every so often they'll show you like a severed head.
Yeah, a bloody head with a knife in it, with the unfortunate scream effect playing. It's an actual scream.
Random, or
yeah, as far as I can tell, I don't know what triggers it. It just seems like an arbitrary.
Scary.
Yeah, it's an early screamer, which nobody likes nowadays. So that's a minus in my opinion.
I assume they were originally going to tie it to people getting killed, but I guess they didn't.
Oh, there's this other point where like 7 bloody skulls just randomly appear in the screen too. I'm actually seeing that in this
never
video.
saw that. I played the game for like over. We got to rank this some bitch. So let's
break out the ranker.
Let's break out the ranker.
Yeah.
I mean, crank it up.
Yeah.
I would
it's like
put
the
this
Rancor, but for ranking.
between Amagon and Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball.
Oh, I'd say it's better than Bill Lambier's Combat Basketball. I'd even put it
Bias.
8 Eyes. Like 8 Eyes is just a rip-off Castlevania.
I'm not fond of 8 Eyes, yeah.
I'd put it below King's Quest V and above 8
It really
Eyes.
depends whether you're going for quality or uniqueness, because it's definitely unique and interesting.
You could go for a lot of different things. Like we went over this. Like you can something that is like kind of the saving grace of a basically bad game. You know, I mean, look what its competition is. Like Eek the Cat is just a reskin of another bad game. Caverns of Kafka is an impenetrable nightmare of bad coding. Amagon.
I think Friday the 13th kind of works as intended.
Yeah, it does. Like you don't feel like when you're playing it, like you. I mean,
characters get stuck on walls and stuff, but it's not nearly as game breaking as.
No, I mean it happens, but it's not.
Yeah,
the game basically works the way it's supposed to, I guess. So that, I mean, that's, it's like faint praise.
I think it succeeds as a scary game for the Commodore 64, and that's a tall order. It's hard to scare people with that sort of. I guess the
only game that I can think of for the Commodore 64, especially for any PC, that has a scariness, like a fear factor, if you will, that exceeds it and does better is probably Alien for a Commodore 64, which I think everybody should play.
Don't forget Project Firestar.
I can't forget it because I don't know of it. But
it's very good. I recommend it.
Yeah, but I mean, those games aren't on the list, and I got to put it below King's Quest V, above 8 Eyes, because I'll say 8 Eyes is basically just a ripoff. It's like a semi-competent ripoff, but a ripoff nonetheless. And King's Quest V is a maddeningly, arbitrarily difficult game, but it also has a lot of interesting. You know, it's a well done game, and it was definitely accomplished what it set out to do.
It's pretty good. And King's Quest V is probably the second best King's Quest game, I think.
Murder boats.
The murder boat. Can't forget the murder boat.
I'd say, 6 is unquestionably the best. I think some people actually like 3 and 4 more than 5.
There's something
3
about
and 4 have mostly the same issues as 5, to be honest.
Yeah, but they're older, so it's more forgivable. It's more like, by the time you get to 5, you've got, like...
I think... No, go ahead.
I have no issue with this replacement. I think, like, King's Quest V, you know, it's probably better. It's
more influential.
I think Friday the 13th is probably below King's Quest V. Like, if it was slightly less buggy, I'd probably push it higher. But the fact that it does kind of jank out a bit, I'd put it below.
But for a Commodore 64 game, it's pretty polished, I'd say. Like, I mean, at least an earlier one. Like, later on, there would be better games for the platform.
Well, because I'm thinking, is it the best Friday the 13th game?
I feel like it is.
It's
not
one
that
of
many.
two, so,
like,
tell me.
well, yeah.
I mean, the NES game has its points, but it's not on the list, so it doesn't matter. If somebody wants to nominate that one, we can consider it. But
I think that the fact that they deviated to make it a more interesting game is a good choice.
Me too. It's kind of like the Jaws PS2 game.
Yeah.
It's like, it has nothing to do with anything, but it's good.
Hello, King's Quest V. I'm sold on that. I'm fine with that. Has anyone got a strong opinion?
Anybody disagree?
I wish I had more to say, but I admit the C64 generally isn't my wheelhouse. Still, from what I can gather with the game, it's a nice, simple premise, even if it's, I think, like, too simple. Like, you could potentially beat a game in less than a minute, and that mostly requires... That's gameplay mechanic requires around a prototypical version of Team Fortress 2's spy check, with the pyros and whatnot of flaming their own teammates.
Yeah, but that's very impressive. That
it is cool, yeah, but like just making an entire game out of that is, I think it does get old pretty fast. But it's more amusing conceptually.
Like
that would be a good idea. That'd be pretty
really cool if it were a multiplayer game, but it couldn't be. That was never going to work in those days. So, yeah, I mean, all right. So I'm calling it.
Yeah, no one's unsold me on this. I mean,
yeah, below King's Quest V, above 8 Eyes.
Yep.
All right.